What is going on, everyone? Tis Miyanovich, and I welcome you to the main dojo, the place where we process the raw struggles of men in an unprecedented paradigm. There is something inside of you that wants you to be more than what you are. But there also may be something inside of you that wants you to go down. And for some of us, that means going down for good. So, remove your ego, drop your bullshit, become vulnerable, and step into the dojo, mate.
Sorry, something just collapsed in my fucking garage.
Go for it.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, sure. Two fucking chicken two. Was your brother trying to climb back into the garage?
No, there's no windows in there. That's just the ghost of fuck Deadpool. It was a giant box of stuff that just decided to collapse. But at least there was glass in it, so I think we're good.
So, well, we're here with Half-Deadpool again, and the tune just keeps...
Bro.
The tune just keeps humming along.
Do you just want me to go backwards from this moment where a box for no reason crashed in the garage and broke a scale that was made out of glass? And then last night at 2 a.m, I woke up with a terrible bloody nose, and what came before that was my wife broke her ACL and my brother attempted suicide in my home on Monday. It's been an amazing week.
Yeah. And I still don't know where I sit morally with all of this.
Yep, for sure.
Because we're dropping the microphone in on a lot of really hard and heavy shit for you.
Yeah, for sure.
And I feel like even though I'm not trying to do it, I feel like a cheesy, like, online content provider who's taking advantage of a friend who's in crisis and crisis sells, that kind of a thing. Even though I know we're not doing that, that's what I kind of feel like.
You know, I personally, because I've given this some thought. I mean, we talk about this. You and I are analytical, pragmatic people, so it's hard to not look at all the angles. I'm in such a place of strength or disassociation. I don't know what it is that I feel confident in talking about it, and I would like to lay it out in a way that's digestible and approachable for people so they understand. Number one, it sounds like I'm lying or making up the amount of things that happen to me on a regular basis. Like you said it in the last time we chatted, you're like, oh, yeah. Wow, dude, cascading crises seem to keep happening. I don't want people to have to feel like this is untruthful or I'm exaggerating. And I also, my viewpoint on a lot of this stuff ends up having to be humorous. So I am making fun of myself, self-deprecating or going to humor in a lot of it. It's not that it doesn't affect me. It's not that I don't break down and cry or have moments of like, whoa, that was intense. But radical acceptance is a new skill that I've been implementing, and it is massively helpful in not just saying, bootstraps, tighten your belt and move on, but going, in this moment, can I change anything right now? No? Okay. Hold on for the ride. Do your best.
Yeah.
And
so this is what my thought is on it. So let's go into the spiritual realm a little bit.
Sure.
Because this podcast and nobody from our community knows anything about the spiritual side of my life and how hugely powerful it has been and potent, and I don't talk about it. My experience is that when you speak things outward and you expose things, it has an empowering effect. It has an empowering effect for you. If you refuse to let even the worst shit that's happening to you tuck itself away into the dark, if you refuse it, it's enormously powerful. If you share it with other people, it's enormously powerful again. So why I feel like this is okay for us to do this is because I feel like we're doing it out in the open, and that is bringing a level of power to you, whether you realize it or not. That is threefold, probably, as opposed to if we were just talking about it alone with no microphones on. I think because of the way we're handling this, it's drawing power in your direction. You'd be in deep trouble if we didn't draw that amount. So I'm going to say it again. I think you're in such a bad place that if I didn't step in, you weren't going to get better. I'm not saying, oh, Randy's the fucking best and me. That's not, I'm such a powerful shaman or some shit like that. That's not what I'm fucking saying. It's, I see that you're underpowered for what's happening to you. And I've been watching it for a year and a half, and I do not see any man around you or any human around you stepping in and going, we're stopping this.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
So that let me just finish. I just want to say that's why I feel okay doing this, because I feel like you're so buried that stepping in here needs a maximum amount of power, and us doing it out in the open is the way that I feel like that's maximized. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And to your point, I think it's important to point out, yeah, you're right. It's not an ego thing. It's not a Randy, patting himself on the back. If I hadn't stepped in, you're right. I do not have an immense amount of strong men around me. I have friends and they have their strengths and things, but how many of my closest of close people, physically proximity to me and relationship wise, have truly stepped up to support me and check in? Very, very few. And one of those dear friends who truly was keeping me going, and I think saved my life, which we can talk about later. He moved to Australia.
Yeah.
But even though it's really difficult and expensive for him to communicate, because whatever, they're not on a plan yet, he still is reaching out and going, hey, I appreciate you. Yeah. Thank you so much for helping me with the house. Are you okay today? What's going on in your life? You doing all right? And that check-in, holy cow, man, it can be very powerful, being able to share, like you said. So I'm very grateful for you kind of, pushing and being like, hey man, let's get a plan together. Let's keep you alive. Let's keep you going.
Let's get us something else other than what's fucking going on.
Yeah. Being ignored by doctors and other folks.
You would think, because a lot of people think, I think a lot of people might suffer from this too, who listen to the podcast, that, all Half-Deadpool needs to do is just plug into the medical officialdom. Just get his shit straight and step into medical officialdom, and that will put him on the path to being okay. Well, that's not exactly true here, and it's not exactly true for a lot of people. And sometimes you need the myth of the medical industry to be true, right? You need it to have the power that it says it does. And you step in that direction and you find out it doesn't even have that. Or maybe it does, but you can't get to it for one reason or another.
Man, all those barriers. I call them barriers. They're not even hoops. Sometimes they're walls that are 40 feet high, covered with barbed wire. I have to keep going back to humor because it's the only way to survive this. How funny is it? It took me 6 months to get an endocrinologist, and then the follow-up appointment just to read my labs was 5 months later. 5 + 6 is 11. Yeah. Almost an entire year to go. You don't look so good. That's absurd. That's just one sliver of a process. Yeah. Meant to, help me, support me, whatever. But that took an act of Congress to even achieve the amount of letters and pre-approval through insurance, and I wasn't dead enough by like 1 point on one test, so they're like, they can't see you. You're not dead enough. Yeah. I'm like, oh man.
You need to be 90% Deadpool.
Yeah, exactly. You're not allowed to be half Deadpool. You need to be 90% Deadpool.
And also, half Deadpool has a cold too.
Yeah.
So if everybody,
Yeah, apologize for my my teenage squeal voice later if I get loud.
So you definitely have, and I've known people like this before. You definitely have like Pigpen going on with everywhere you go. You have the dust cloud around you, Pigpen from Charlie Brown, or the dark cloud over you. And there's perhaps a lot of ways that we could explain that or discuss it. But my thought is this: you, from knowing you, I wouldn't say you have a normal boundary, a normal interpersonal boundary, a normal inner boundary between yourself and the outside world, or between yourself and other people, or between yourself and phenomena. Do you remember when you might not remember because you barely even remembered the fact that we were on the range together a couple of times and you were the photographer.
Oh yeah, trust me, man. The dementia stuff and like my memory and yeah, it's
the first time we were together on the gun range and you were the photographer, you had flown to the situation. You were giving us tens of thousands of dollars of donated work for free, right? Your back was killing you. You were doing a number of different things, from live video to still photography to getting a drone up in the air, and you were doing a lot. And we wanted you to squeeze in when you could to get some training, get some shots in. So you're doing a lot.
I refused to do the training.
And you came to me.
I had a job to do.
I was talking to Alex, and you came over, and the three of us were talking, and you were like, "Randy, can I help you in any way? What can I do for you? Is there anything I can do for you to alleviate the burdens that you're having to deal with managing?" And I was like, "Half Deadpool, dude, stop it! I want you to stop it." Like I was like, "Stop." That was basically what I said. Stop doing it. Stop it. You are doing so much. I just need you to do what you're doing, and that's already way too much to ask you. Stop asking me if you can help me. You're out. Like, it was like, to me, it was like, is Half Deadpool out of his fucking mind? Does he not even realize what he's doing? He's got a back problem. He's flown across the country. He's taking still shots and videos and doing the fucking drone. And I want him to jump in and do some training.
And trying not to get shot. There was a couple times where I was getting lost in the lens. And I was like, whoop, no, it's a firing squad.
Okay. And then you're like, can I please do more for you?
Can I shine your car up, mister? Can I vacuum your van for you?
So this was my first taste of like, I don't think Homeboy has a boundary. Like,
no, he's not right. That kid ain't right.
Yeah, like he doesn't understand what he's doing and how valuable it is at all. He just wants to keep helping, to the point where I was like, fucking stop.
Right.
So we're talking about the cloud over you. This is, I think, likely the main contributor in the universe to you attracting these things, seemingly from being born in the family that you were born in and your upbringing. You were not helped to have such a thing. And your whole world is an indicator of it. You have no boundary against this attraction to other people who need too much help or help all the time. And your inability to recognize how it affects you, perhaps, and the fact that it's a massively destructive force when you don't have your own boundary.
Sure. I mean, and I've learned an immense amount about myself in therapy. As of, this April, June, somewhere around there, I think I'll be with the same therapist for about 3 years, and I'm transitioning to another one who does kind of higher level, harder work, kind of graduating to even more and more difficult therapy. But I'm pretty darn good now about not taking on extra stuff and saying no, compared to 3 months ago, compared to 6 months ago, compared to a year ago.
Yeah.
But even still, that, great example this morning, we have carpool for my kiddos. A great thing. 4 families all in the same neighborhood have to get to the same school across town. So we split up and do carpool. one of the families had a dead battery, and I have this little jump pack, super easy. It's like the size of a fat iPhone. Mm-hmm. And I offered it to him. But just that exchange and how many minutes that took, and trying to plan and coordinate with them to simply pick it up. And then the other family who had to replace them to drive had a check engine light on their car come on, and I have a code scanner. So I was like, just use my code reader. Just doing those things, I could have just been like, well, they're adults. They'll figure it out. It'll cost them money and time, not me. But I'm always wanting to help,
right,
and jump in. I didn't say, I'm going to fix your car. I'm going to run to Napa. I'm going to get parts. I'm going to install them for you. I didn't go that far. I need to be careful not to, though. As soon as I plug that code reader in and it says, oh, your O2 sensor's out, I'm going to get on Google and be like, oh, it's only a 30-minute job. We could do that. Nope. Right. Can't do it. I have to tell myself no. I have to tell them to tell me no. Be like, no, right, thank you. We can afford to fix this, or we'll fix it ourselves. Yeah. Otherwise, I get wrapped up in that stuff, right? And then it takes time away from me, my kids, my wife, or it lands me in other, the law of attraction and universe attracting comedy and tragedy and stuff. I'm just followed around. These masks, those comedy tragedy masks, are just following me.
I do think that that's one thing that people need to note, if they can stretch into the causal, quantum, spiritual, perhaps understanding, is that the universe has a tendency like that. Whether, there are positive aspects to the universe and negative aspects, and the negative aspects love a human being who isn't strong, who doesn't have a sense of boundary. The negative aspects of the universe love that shit. And the problems will assail you. If you set off an energy like, don't fuck with me, I'm Johnny on the spot for my own life, the universe doesn't throw as much crap at you. So if you're somebody who doesn't have a sense of boundary, and you don't have a sense of self, and you don't have a spine, and you don't have balls, not only can the universe sense that, but the millions and millions, potentially billions of people on this planet that are subconsciously seeking that out for one reason or another, those humans can feel that. Those situations can feel that.
Yeah, dude, this is all stuff I'm learning. I've had some really big character development, growing maturity things in the last few months. The radical acceptance stuff, paying attention to what I'm attracting, doing something that's very difficult for someone with a brain like mine that will not stop running. It cannot ever turn off. It is maddening. Being able to like close mental doors, like self-harm, a huge one. It's so difficult to articulate, but being able to close that door and be like, nope, not an option. Think about something else.
Right.
Think about something positive. But it's taken a lot of work.
Where do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say, and similarly with attracting things, setting boundaries. With my brother's recent crisis, saying to the community crisis response team, which is like police and county and sheriff, it's kind of a mix mash of different opportunities for support. I said, somebody needs to take over. I know it makes sense that I would be the best point of contact, but I'm not any longer. I'm focusing on my kids. My wife's out of town for a 2-week chunk of time. My brother's important to me. I will be here to support him. However, somebody else needs to be coordinating all of the moving parts, the 5 different agencies or whatever that they just casually want us to schedule, go through.
Yeah.
And being like, nope. So sent that text out yesterday. Like, unfortunately, the negative part certainly can affect me, because if he just comes back here and goes back into not being well, that will cause a lot of issues for us. Or it will just expedite his, departure.
Right.
I'll be like, nope, huge boundary. I give you a little boundary, and I give you a bigger one and a bigger one. And this one might be the ultimate boundary. Like, you have to leave. And I had that conversation with him. It was difficult, but I told him I would call the sheriff if I needed to. And he was kind of astounded, but it felt right. Whereas even 6 months ago or a year ago, I wouldn't have had the confidence and understanding of how to set that conversation up.
Imagine what you can accomplish on 100 megs of tests.
Oh my God.
Per week.
I would just throw him. I would just pick him up and I would have just physically thrown him. He's like 350 pounds, but I would have picked him up over my head, taken a bite out of his stomach and just like thrown him. I love you. Get out of here. It's your time to go. And just like toss him. I don't know why I turn into Satan when I take tests.
Megatron.
Yeah.
So just in case people don't remember, we sort of lightly mentioned it the last time, but Half-Deadpool's brother has been living in his house.
16 months now?
16 months with psychological and physiological and likely spiritual crises at a very high level, with just like a person that needs to be in a professional care situation.
Yeah,
is in Half-Deadpool's house with his kids, and it would look like it was kind of getting better there for a while, and then turned the corner and just dove off the fucking cliff
precipitously, like very, very quickly, like
good, yeah,
very fast.
Good. And by the way, well done and good job for what you did. Like,
thank you. That means a lot to me, man. That really does. I appreciate it.
It's balls, it's spine, it's brain, it's all of the things. You are in a fucking, like, your situation, man, is fucking ridiculous. The whole thing, every single thing is fucking ridiculous. It is. It's fucking ridiculous. And the fact that you're kind of okay right here as we talk is astounding, and it's a testament to your goddamn power. And I think you don't realize how powerful you are, because your power has been dissipated by everything around you and sucked like vampirically out of you your whole fucking life. And you're immensely powerful when you have everyone around you has a fucking like USB cable into your essence, and you just keep letting it happen because you don't know any other way. But it would be killing other people faster. It's definitely 100% killing you.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Oh yeah, man,
for sure.
I wish I could have had a fly on the wall or a home security camera inside the house or something when I approached Brian. I didn't even have my normal, this is going to be uncomfortable, because the foundation that I was given primarily by my abusive mother growing up was no conflict resolution skills, because what she said went, right? No matter what. You weren't allowed to even ask, well, why is that? Or like, no, you can't have that. For example, my kids say, may I have ice cream for breakfast? And I go, no, sweetheart, I don't want to spike your insulin and wreck the rest of your day with this sugary bomb in the morning. If we want to do it later today, we could have ice cream after dinner or something, and then we'll go for a walk.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like crazy hippie overparenting in comparison to what I got, but that's how a normal adult would respond. Or you can just simply say, no, not right now. My mother would not have. She would have just berated me for even questioning. And so you apply that to your lifetime, and your conflict resolution skills are trash, and you're nervous about any conflict. Randy, I don't like your hat. Something like that can be on level with anything huge, car wreck, anything. You would have been very proud of me, the way I approached Brian, or my brother, I should say. The way I approached my brother was just very matter of fact. You may not do this. I love you. I think I started with, I love you. You have value. You're worthy. You are loved by me and my family. You may not drink yourself to death in my home. You can go to the emergency room and I will take you there. We can go to the crisis center and I will take you there. If you do not leave this house and continue to do this, I have no other option but to call the sheriff. I'm not going to call my friends to come pick you up because you're too big. I'm not going to let you drive drunk and go cause tragedy to someone else's family. I will call the cops on you for drunk driving. I'll call the sheriff to get you out of my home. And then talked through what that looked like. But still knowing my brother and where we came from, I'm going to call the cops on you out of love. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I still brought it to him with, we love you, and I'm not going to let you do this. But also, my kids come first. My kids come first. Yes. Like, beyond beyond. I don't care about your feelings, about you being angry, any of that, when it goes up against the wellness of my children. They're little people without the skills and abilities to protect themselves. And that's my job. So the fuck out of my house. And then I eventually kind of tricked them, talked them into getting into my truck to go to the emergency room. And then on the way there, the crisis team called me, and then they almost lost him because one of them's very, very much police, right? Too much so. And my brother is not like police.
Yeah.
And it was, we almost had him give up on the way to the ER. But then we got him to stick there, and I just sort of distracted him like, hey, look, shiny. Hey.
Yeah.
And then he eventually got, taken in inpatient. And then in the state of Oregon, you can do a 24-hour hold on someone if they're a danger to the community or themselves, which when somebody's that intoxicated, I don't know what his blood alcohol content was, but he drank himself with the intent to die. He thought he was going to stop breathing. So probably pretty drunk.
He very likely could have. And you stepping up is one of the reasons for right now why it didn't happen.
Yeah, for
this
sure.
time, or for good, or whatever's going to happen. That's not your fucking responsibility.
Absolutely.
Which is another discussion, the grief and the pain of letting go and something happening where this doesn't fucking work out.
Yep.
But that's not yours.
I've kind of already processed, as dark as this sounds. My wife and I both have already kind of processed, like, he's in bad enough physical condition, diet, no exercise, just chronically unhealthy. Just kind of counting on finding him dead in his living space back there from like heart attack or something, or stroke.
Sure.
I know that sounds horrid and morbid,
Nope,
but
not to me.
I have already kind of processed, if that happens, what are my feelings going to be? What could that situation be? What is the reality of it? And how do I move forward in like an administrative sense and emotional sense?
Yeah.
And now that it has, gotten to that point, we're going to be transitioning him out of the home quicker.
So I have two things here. Let's see. The first one.
Yeah, and if you need to stop me from rambling or whatever, if it's not making any sense, just let me know.
I'm worse than you are. One.
Yes, sir.
What you just did there, what you just said, the way you handled this, the way that you did it. This isn't just the sign of a strong human. Like, that's a sign of a strong human. You might be weak in 5 minutes from now. You might be a fucking puddle of crying in a basket case, and you can't even wipe your own ass in 10 minutes. But right there, what you did with your brother, that's the sign of strength in a human. Like, not a little strength, exceptional strength. Okay? But more importantly, in my opinion, that is the sign of a strong man. And no one can say otherwise. If anyone tries to say otherwise, they're fucking lying. They're full of shit. They don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. Whatever their game is, they can fuck off.
I appreciate that very much.
That's the sign of a strong man. Strong human, yes. Are there women doing this all over the world today, doing what you just did with your brother? Yes, you bet your ass. Are there strong women do? Yes. And fucking good for them for doing it. And we're with those women, right? Are there strong gay people and non-binary people fucking doing this? Yes. And good for them. And we're with those people. But you did the thing that a strong man does, right? And you did it. You fucking did it. And you did it right. And in many ways, I think it's harder than a lot of things that men, typical men, generic men would consider strong. Like, I work on a crab boat. I was in Afghanistan. I was in Nam. Whatever the fuck it is. The idea that when a man goes to Nam or he's in Afghanistan, that somehow is being more of a man than what you did, that's fucking bullshit, right? You're both doing things that are hard for men to do, and you do it anyway. And lives are on the line, emotions are on the line, it's confusing. So what you just did was not just being a strong man, you did a high-level strongman thing. As high as it gets. For me, it's quite complicated to be able to do what you just did. It's very complicated. And you did it, and you handled it.
I appreciate that. What you just hit on, like the complexity of it, it's been interesting to try to reflect, because when you get, I was talking to someone about this yesterday about how I don't know why, I don't know where it comes from. We're assuming it's like the complex PTSD, traumatic upbringing that I have. But dude, when shit goes down, when people's lives are on the line, when true trauma happens or intense stuff happens, I don't know where it comes from. I snap into take care of shit admin mode. I don't care how scary or weird it gets. Guy temporarily died next to me on an airplane on our way to vacation. Took care of him. We landed, got in the swimming pool. Our friend's boyfriend split his skull open in a 5-foot deep pool, ripped his scalp up. I was Johnny Cool, like, you call all the local hospitals. You find the ones with a plastic surgeon. You're going to drive. You're going to triage him. I'm going to eat this snack.
Yeah.
Now, on the other side, previously I would crash hard because of that cortisol dump. But now I've got this skill set, man. And by the way, I think it's important, again, not a pat me on the back kind of thing, just it's important to note, I'm also doing this as a solo parent. My wife, who is a very strong, badass chick, is in Canada skiing for 2 weeks. And so I'm having to do something that I usually am reliant upon her to support me in, or I support her. I'm doing it solo. I'm doing it with 2 children, 14 chickens, a dog, and a cat, and my brother. And making sure that they're cared for, and then take a small amount of time for myself to do meditation, prayer, something, reset myself, and then boom. My kids didn't see it. They didn't see any of this. They were at school and then picked up and then did play dates. But I had like a half an hour to myself after all of this has happened, from the emergency room, get home, take a breath, and then go straight into, hey guys, you guys want some dinner? Where's Uncle Brian? Yeah. Oh, Uncle Brian's at the hospital, honey. He's super sick, but he's okay. Okay. Can we draw him a card? I'm like, absolutely. And that's the thing about addiction that kills me, especially with my brother, because of his learning disabilities, the color of his skin, having seen how he's been treated his whole life by his own mother, his own parents. It kills me because it shouldn't be some sort of defamation of his character, because he was so sad that he tried to take his own life. He is a beautiful, beautiful, loving man. My children adore him. And if I didn't think that he was going to be safe around my kids for this whole year, he would have been gone a long time ago. So I don't want it to look like, I was lackadaisical about a safety issue, or that my brother was just waiting to make some critical failure that would have caused my children, harm. It's just important for me to point out. But my children adore him. And I'm really glad that I didn't just sort of puss out and let him, because he said to me, I'm not going to the emergency room. I'm going to do what I did last night. I'm going to keep drinking until I'm dead. And I just did the knife hand.
Yeah, fuck you.
I love you. The fuck you are. Get your shit together, or I will get you out of this house. Well, I'm going to go drink in my car. You do that, and I will call the police. I think he was pushing me also to act out physically towards him.
Sure. Very common.
Potentially. But I think he was, even though he was, brown to blackout to drunk, he still knew that was a bad idea, because he would only get hurt. I wouldn't take his life.
Yeah.
If he provoked me, I could literally just step to the side. But anyway.
Well, here's the trouble with addicts a lot, is they are amazing people, and they're also really sensitive and good-hearted and helpful. and angelic. And that part of their aspect is oftentimes what keeps the whole fucking merry-go-round going, because everybody feels awful, right? But this is part of the game, like the idea that everybody that's an advanced addict or terrible addict is some fucking asswipe. It's just not true. But it does indicate he's at a level of sickness that you simply cannot have around kids.
No way.
In the house.
Nope, no way. Regardless of like true safety, just even being a good example of someone that I want around my children, because I don't know if I want to say they look up to him like he's some sort of hero or something, but he's an adult. And so they do look at him for, whatever.
You might not be able to stop him from dying.
Yeah. And it is what it is.
You can stop him from dying in your fucking house.
Yep.
Around your kids, and them having to grieve and process without having the psychological components to do it well. Them being able to process that when he's in another building is an entirely different fucking thing from the morgue or the coroner showing up and wheeling their uncle out in a fucking bag.
Dude, great, excellent call. And that is something that I had to play through in my head that night, that afternoon or that morning. Because the night before I was like, dude, you and I aren't talking right now effectively. You're refusing to make eye contact with me. I think you're super intoxicated. This is the last night that this ever happens in this home. So then the next day when it had happened again, that was one of the many scenarios that I run through my head is between getting him out of the house in whatever form, whether it's police, sheriff, fire, EMS, or myself. I am so lucky to have neighbors, and my mother-in-law lives right around the corner. My first plan, it's kind of like the run, hide, fight, for self-defense. It's like, I'm going to take my kids, I'm going to run them over to grandma's. Then I'm going to come back and get to work. And if that means he's having a medical episode from this, or he's removed from the sheriff, my children do not need to see, uncle get manhandled by a couple of massive men wearing uniforms or get tased or something, if it got to that point, or EMS and the lights and the sirens and all that stuff, and that was again, my over planning and overthinking everything, but it was to protect my kids. And it was part of the plan. Like, my kids don't need to see any of that, but uncle perishes in another location. Yes, it's sad. It's a different level of sadness.
Fuck yeah.
And
I want to remind again you that the mere fact that we're talking about this is fucking crazy. Like, the mere fact that you are doing this and this is in your life and in your home is crazy. It's so below you and your value. It's so below you and your value. And this is what's interesting about this concept, especially those of us who are left of center and philosophically, and we believe in spirituality and giving and caring and wrap your arms around the world and all of that shit. There's a level of it, of caring, that's proven to be toxic and awful.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if it doesn't come with boundaries and wisdom, then it certainly can be. You can definitely choke a child with too much milk. You can facilitate the advancing phases of addiction and disease and mental illness with trying to be too loving and compassionate. So the Buddhists call it idiot love or idiot compassion. And so this is thousands of years of studying human psychology, and Buddhist psychology is its own interesting thing with its own limits. But that's why the concept of idiot love or idiot compassion is there. It's compassion without wisdom, and it can be enormously ineffective and can make things worse.
Yeah. I mean, I think I really love the way you're phrasing that, because when people say you're enabling him, I feel like I would rather be presented with this concept of like idiot love or idiot compassion than you're just enabling him. I used the analogy a couple days ago with a friend of mine who was like, you're just enabling him. I'm like, well, number one, I just fucking survived another crisis that could very well crash my adrenal system, and I will go back to zero, and I will be on death's doorstep myself again. So please respect that, and provide me with enough respect to not say that shit. But number two, in my brother's case, it's with him in particular, it's like cutting off someone's legs all the way off and cutting off their arms, and then saying that they are a shit Olympic athlete.
Right.
It's like there is a component of he needs to do the hard work, he needs discipline, he needs to change and all this, but he was not given a metric ton of tools and care and support and all sorts of stuff. So it's complex, right? And I've learned a lot. I mean, my wife in particular was like, man, I just feel like we've just wasted. She was just, thinking out loud and sharing her feelings. She's like, I feel like we just wasted 1.5 years. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I feel like this has been one of the most high level years of growth that I've had in my life, And I've had major times of growth and understanding and stuff. Even though I almost died, it got me off of drinking. It got me more into therapy, got me into physical fitness, got me to, what I'm calling spirituality adjacent, because I haven't really explored that too much. I haven't had full on capacity. Got more into my kids, more into my music, more understanding about how to not overhelp and overextend. And when this is all said and done, I'll still have my family, my home, my health,
Yeah, I want to make sure that everybody remembers that you said, you were doing all of this while your wife's in Canada.
Yeah.
But more so important than that is that you're doing all of this while you're half dead.
Mm-hmm.
And what half dead to me would be the analog would be like you have cancer and you're in the middle of chemo. Maybe you don't know stage 4, but like stage 2 or something, like you have recognizable cancer, you're in the middle of chemo. And you're dealing with this with your brother. That's kind of an analog to what's happening with you.
I would say so. That's the chemo thing is something I bring up to people with my energy level and mental acuity or lack thereof. When I have one of these health episodes, it's the closest thing that somebody in somebody's life knows what the concept of chemotherapy is. And I'm not saying it it's like I have cancer, feel bad for me, whatever. But it is adjacent, I would say, definitely to that idea of like chemo is poison. It saps your energy and ability to do stuff. You would never tell someone with chemotherapy to get off their ass and just go for a hike with you up this mountain and pitch a big canvas tent and go camping for a week.
Right.
Go lift some weights, just get off your ass. It's just a little chemotherapy. It's just a little chemo. It's just a little cancer. Don't worry about it. That's the way I've been treated by a lot of folks. Like we chatted last time, I present well enough when I need to. But something as small as, another medical bill showing up could cause me to have a stress hormone dump, and then I'm toast. Yep. But I'm telling you, dude, I'm getting stronger and stronger. The emotional strength and courage component is getting better daily.
This is one, like, in my opinion, when the door opens a little bit and you see the light from the good room, this is when you kick the fucking door in. Like, you don't just go, well, maybe I'll just we'll work and get a little bit more. And then this is when you stick your fucking foot straight through the door.
Yep.
That's why, I don't care if I'm wrong, but I would want to see your estradiol levels, your T levels free, right? Free T. And I would want to see where it is. Sodini was just on, had no idea that he was on TRT. His test, he was almost 300 pounds, and his test level was 100.
Isn't that the floor? Isn't that the base?
It is, dude.
My goodness. He must have felt really unwell, to say it very, very, very lightly.
Yeah. He just knew he just every 6 months, every year, he was feeling worse and worse.
Man, that poor guy. What a bummer.
Yeah. But now, like, Now he's back. Now his levels with TRT are averaging at 1200, which is almost like super physiologic. We'll probably talk about it later, but the thing about the levels is that the medical industry has changed the window of what's the median based upon a general decrease in society and testosterone. But some people might feel okay at 900. Like if your test score comes back at 450 and they go, you're well within the range, well, that might not be the level that you feel good at.
Right.
Your level might be 800. Your level might be 1,000. So I'm just bringing that up because perhaps it's not. Perhaps TRT is not what's needed here. And perhaps that's not kicking the fucking door in. But my guess is when your numbers come back, if it's somewhere between 400 and 500 and you still get on, that's going to kick the fucking door open. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to take you like 5 notches.
Dude, if it just cranks up everything else I'm doing, the exercise has been huge.
Yeah.
My God, just moving.
Yeah.
If it cranks up that ability, granted I'm working through this gosh darn shoulder injury, but it's the first time I've dealt with that. I've had every other part of my body kind of
shoulder, back, hip.
But man, if I could get some more energy for exercise and stuff, that would be great. It's just such an amazing feeling that I've missed because of years of chronic pain. It's just incredible. Taking care of yourself.